So, cancelled superhero movies are very much the stuff of legend, and over the years, there are cancelled superhero movie projects that have drawn quite a lot of attention. Okay, with the intro out of the way, let's move on to it. So up on the list is Superman Lives, which would have been released at some point in the 90s, and would have been directed by Tim Burton. He's directed quite a few films over the years, including the Michael Keaton Batman films, and most recently Dumbo, the live-action remake. Who was going to play Superman, I hear you ask? Nicolas Cage. Yep, Nicolas Cage was wafer thin ice to playing Superman, which is an interesting casting choice. The villains for this movie would have been Brainiac, Lex Luthor, and Doomsday, which gives me a couple of Spider-Man 3 vibes, i.e. too many villains. The movie would loosely adapt the Death of Superman story from the 90s, which sounds pretty cool. The plot of the movie is basically this. Lex Luthor and Brainiac want to kill Superman, so they send Doomsday to do it. Of course, because Doomsday is vastly skilled in the killing Kryptonians department. Doomsday then succeeds and kills Superman. At some point he would be resurrected and then defeat Doomsday, probably by the end of the film. That, however, is one version of the script. Another version includes the destruction of Krypton at Brainiac's hands, which kills Superman, who travels through the afterlife and is then resurrected, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 style, if you will, and fighting a giant spider-like bot in the climax, kind of like that giant spider bot we see in Man of Steel. Another version of the script included Superman confessing his love to Lois Lane, and after some love-making, Lois becomes pregnant. I'm just kidding. Superman puts his soul into Lois's soul. Why does everything in this movie sound oddly sexual? Anyway, Superman would get killed, his child would then be born and grow into a 21-year-old man in about 3 weeks. Lois would then be killed, presumably by Doomsday, and Superman's kid becomes Superman and kills Doomsday. Then everyone's happy. Okay, moving on to our next entry. I've touched upon this in my Batman Year 1 video, but now I want to go into more detail. After the success of the animated show of the same name, a film based on Batman Beyond was in the works, which would have followed the basic premise of the Batman Beyond TV show. Now, sadly there's no script for the movie because this was cancelled in favour of Batman Year 1, which was then cancelled for Batman v Superman. That was then cancelled to make Catwoman. Okay, originally I had the cancelled Spider-Man 4 on this part on the list, but I've done a video on that already. Anyway, I'll talk about the cancelled Amazing Spider-Man 3, which would have been released around June 2016. And at this time, Sony were trying to make their own Spider-Man cinematic universe to try and catch up with the MCU. Isn't everyone trying to do that these days? Anyway, the basic plot is Spider-Man would find a serum and use it to resurrect Gwen Stacy and her father, meaning that Emma Stone would have returned as Gwen and Dennis Leary would have returned as Captain George Stacy. Anyway, I don't think we need to go any further into this because we all know what happened. Sony were playing a cinematic universe because the MCU was arguably more popular than the X-Men and the Amazing Spider-Man. Eventually, most of Sony's plans were scrapped and Spider-Man was brought into the MCU. And thank God that happened because Tom Holland is the best on-screen Spidey since Tobey Maguire. Right, quite fittingly, Fantastic Four 3 would complete the early 2000s Fantastic Four trilogy, and the plans are actually really cool. The main cast would have returned, and so would Doctor Doom. Doom was supposed to return for the third movie, and was meant to be the film's main antagonist. The film would have also introduced Digimon Hunzu, who you may know as Korath from Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Wizard from Shazam, would have been cast as Black Panther, which would have been pretty cool. The film was cancelled because Black Panther's film rights at the time remained at Marvel, as they still do to this day. Nobody liked Rise of the Silver Surfer, and the cast of that film, Ian Grufford, Chris Evans, Jessica Alba, and Michael Chiklis, I believe, expressed no interest in doing a third movie, so those plans were later scrapped, and then we got the absolute Fan 4 stick. And everyone knows how I feel about that. Sorry, that just didn't make me throw up. Anyway, last up on our list, I think, is the 1992 Spider-Man film, which would have been directed by James Cameron. Hot off his 2 Terminator films, Cameron was set to direct a Spider-Man film and would have followed the origins of the character. It would most likely have been similar in tone to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Leonardo DiCaprio, yes, the guy from Titanic and the only one who's won an actual Oscar. would have played Peter Parker, and would he have made a good Peter Parker? Because this film was going to come out in the 90s, I could definitely see it, and it probably could have sent Leonardo DiCaprio's career sky high, because he played Spider-Man. And the main villains in this film are pretty cool as well. We would have gotten Michael Bean's Sandman, Lance Hendrickson, the android from the Alien films, would have played Electro, and Arnold Schwarzenegger would have played Dr. Octopus. Apologies if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Arnold. So the reason that the film was scrapped was because at the time, Marvel was going bankrupt, and in order to save themselves, sold the film rights to certain characters. Spider-Man's film rights were sold to Sony, the X-Men film rights were sold to Fox, and so were the film rights to the Fantastic Four. Big mistake, Marvel. The final film on the list is Batman Continues, the sequel to Batman Returns. This film would have been similar to Batman Forever with a few changes, with Michael Keaton returning and Michelle Pfeiffer returning from the previous film as well. Other additions included Billy D. Williams, now becoming Two-Face. He famously played Harvey Dent in one of the other Batman films. And Robin Williams would have played the Riddler, and Marlon Wayans would have played Dick Grayson. So all these casting choices sound pretty cool for a follow-up to Batman Returns. So why exactly was this cancelled? Well, the film was cancelled because parents felt that Batman Returns was too dark for children. So as a result, Tim Burton was asked by the company to step down as director. Michael Keaton then left because of the direction the film series was going in. And what we got was probably the biggest pile of trash that was ever called film. Side note, Michael Keaton was also rumoured to appear in Superman Lives as Bruce Wayne, which meant that Burton may have been intended for Batman v Superman crossover if he wasn't forced to step down. So, the question remains, would any of these films have been any good? Now, the short answer here, and you're probably gonna hate me for saying this, I'm not sure if any of these films would have been good. A majority of the films on this list did come out in the 1990s, where superhero films were very much treated as a joke. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and yeah, stay tuned for more.